What's going on, everybody? Welcome to this week's edition of MyFandom Cast live right here from the old Dave Cave. It's Dave Sturchio here, broadcasting live across a couple platforms. One being the MyFandom YouTube channel, so be sure to subscribe to that. If you want to get in the chat today, you can do that as well. You can do this also on Facebook. You can come on over and allow access and stuff. I am using StreamYard, so be sure to do that if you want to get involved with the show. But yeah, here I am. Some people are always wondering and worried about the fact that, like, if the Cowboys lose or get throttled like they did yesterday, would Dave show up to do a show? See, I'm a pro, man. I'm a professional. I don't worry about that stuff. I actually took yesterday's game a lot better than other games. I mean, look, there was some yelling, there was some screaming, there was some, like, you know, really ill will things said to Alvin Kamara, and I apologize for that. But when the game was over, I kind of looked around, saw the family, and I was like, yeah, you know what? Like, I'd much rather, everybody knows this. I'd much rather get the shit kicked out of me as a team. Not actually get shit kicked out of me, but as a team, I would much rather get crushed like that than lose like a nail biting last second field goal, anything to that extent. I would, I lose my mind with those things. But this felt very reminiscent. I'll get into the Cowboys game a little bit. But first, I just wanted to introduce the live product and platform. I do want to thank everybody for tuning in for the first couple weeks, which was not a live program. I don't know how many times I'll go live with this program, but it's fun. It's cool because you do get other people to chime in and say hello and good mornings and all that shit. So if you're on Twitter or YouTube or even Facebook or anything like that, any of the streaming platforms that I'm streaming to, be sure to drop a comment in the comments, say hello, say good morning. I'll shout you out on the air, and we'll move on from there. But yeah, so look, it was we'll get into week number 2 relatively quick because there's not, I can go crazy about the Yankees or something like that. I can go crazy about the Yankees getting a little bit better towards the back end stretch, up 3 games with just, like, I don't know, a couple to go. Really, it's the middle of September. I can do that, but it's an NFL world. We live in an NFL world. This is what we talk about. This is what we Jones for each and every week. But there was a lot of cool things that came out of week 2 outside of the fact that the Cowboys got throttled. Now, look, the Cowboys definitely, you can ask Dak Prescott in the post game, which I think somebody did, saying, were you feeling too high on yourself? And he really put that right back on the announcers. He put that, or the media rather. He put that on the media. And he said, look, that's you guys. That's you guys that put this on us. That's you guys that make us feel like, oh, here we are. We're just feeling good, feeling high about ourselves after a week 1 win. And should you feel good about a week 1 win over Cleveland? Yeah, I mean, they came back. Cleveland came back, won their game yesterday. So Cleveland's going to be a decent team. They're a playoff team last year. So you should feel good if you're a Cowboys fan after last week. Going into this week, I don't think they were feeling themselves. I don't think there was any hangover. But there is something about, remember, they're an hour behind. There is something about noon starts, 1 o'clock starts for the Cowboys at home. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's like an actual thing, but it feels like the crowd, isn't as jazzed up. I mean, you don't have that much time to drink and get rowdy before the game, unless you want to get there like 8 o'clock in the morning, which I've done that. So it's not like totally out of the realm of possibilities, but the team just didn't show up, and it started right away. I think that the Saints came out with a plan. The Saints just punched them right in the mouth right away. And when the Cowboys get rocked like that and they leave the game, I don't want to say in Dak's hands, but in the offense's hands to come back and try to make something out of nothing, you start feeling very reminiscent of a Green Bay game. And of course, you can't compare the two because, the rosters were completely different. The coaching staff was different. Everything was different about the Green Bay game. It just felt like the Green Bay game because of the fact that the Cowboys were getting stomped on, right? And it starts with Derek Carr. Derek Carr, listen, he's not a bum. Derek Carr has been in this league a long time, and he can definitely still play the quarterback position at a very high level. And now he's got speed, man. Like, Chris Olave is one thing, but to have Shaheed now, the dude is taking the top off, and the Cowboys just looked totally out of place a couple times. It was brutal. It was brutal to watch that in real time. And if you're an Alvin Kamara fantasy owner, bravo. You got yourself a massive game. I do want to give a shout out to my brother who me and him, it wasn't like a brother's agreement. We played each other yesterday in my home league, and we, I had Shaheed, he had Kamara. We were like, look, we both want the Cowboys to win this game. Let's play with our hearts here. You can bench Kamara, I'll bench Shaheed, and we'll see what happens. And I wound up beating him by 5. But if Kamara was in that game, my brother would have kicked the piss out of my team. So I'm thankful for that. That he did not start Kamara, but Kamara had himself a day. He had an Aaron Jones type day, and I was, texting Brett Ernst and Keith Ernst and my boys at the Jersey Boys podcast. We'll break the game down more over there on that show tomorrow. But I was telling him, I'm like, right behind my head when I was watching the game is a little chip in the wall. And that chip is named Aaron Jones. So clearly, Dave wasn't in the right mindset for the Aaron Jones game where he's waving bye-bye, he's doing all that shit. And I just let the wall have it. And, I fixed it to an extent. But I promised myself I wouldn't do that again. And I didn't. Yesterday, Kamara went absolutely batshit nuts, and I did not break anything. So it was one of those things where it's just like, okay, well, I've seen this dance before. And I'm not about to get too high or too low about it. It's week 2. And a couple of my colleagues, including the guys at the Jersey Boys, were saying this is worse than the Green Bay game. And I'm like, no, because it's week 2. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the season like Green Bay was. So it's definitely a different feeling. It's not a good feeling at all. You feel like shit. There's a couple plays that you wish you had back, Jalen Brooks. The problem is with the Cowboys, and I'll go over this again more in detail tomorrow on the Jersey Boys podcast. But the problem with the Cowboys right now is they don't have a dynamic playmaker outside of CeeDee Lamb. Once you take CeeDee Lamb out of the game, and that's the blueprint right now, it's going to take somebody to step up big. Is it Jalen Tolbert? He had a nice catch. Is it Brandon Cooks? He caught a touchdown in week 1, a couple balls yesterday. We don't know. And the Ferguson being out that doomed large, specifically on third downs and short yardage situations where you're not going to run the ball. And speaking of running the ball, the Cowboys don't have much of a running game right now. They really don't. I love the running backs they have. I'm a big Zeke guy. He's actually right behind me, he's a fat head right behind me. I'm a Zeke guy, but maybe it's Dalvin Cook time to see what he's got, see if he can get ramped up and ready to go. But the problem is, if you bring up Dalvin Cook, who you letting go, not letting go, but like they might make Deuce inactive next time, or Rico, or I can't see Zeke sitting out anytime. That's not going to be a thing. So I don't know. We'll see. The Cowboys, like I said, they get their doors kicked in yesterday. And that's that. I'm not about to spend any more time on that. We'll spend more time on that on a Cowboys driven podcast. This is not a Cowboys driven podcast. There's a lot of work to do for the Cowboys. And oh, by the way, here come the Ravens, who are 0-2 and are jonesing for a win. Now, speaking of the Ravens, I don't know what to make of that. And I said this to my brother yesterday, because we have Lamar Jackson in another bigger money league that we're in together as a team. I said I drafted Lamar Jackson a couple years back, and it was just one of those things where if you didn't get production out of Lamar Jackson early, it was going to be a long season, because it's just like if the Ravens get behind the sticks in their record like they are right now, they might rely on Lamar to throw. And while I've made comments year after year after year about Lamar not being able to throw, he's not your dynamic passer. Now, I know you drop a couple in the bucket and you're like, wow, that was amazing. And I'm not saying he's not a good quarterback. I just don't see him being arm strength good quarterback as far as our arm accuracy or arm stuff good quarterback. But again, the guy's got wheels. If the Cowboys are susceptible against the run, oh, great. Here comes Lamar Jackson, and Derrick Henry too. That's fun. And Justice Hill, he's got shifty moves. It's going to be rough. Cowboys somehow opened up as favorites. I think that's going to move a little bit, but the Ravens caught themselves in a little bit of a buzzsaw yesterday. And again, without Lamar making dynamic plays, you do have Zay Flowers out there. Mark Andrews hasn't come on yet. Isaiah Likely was a 1-week thing last week, and I'm sure he's going to get back to normal, because I like Isaiah Likely and I think he's very good. But you got to make playmakers happen, and Rashad Bateman just ain't the guy that people probably want him to be. But I don't know, man. It's a tough situation right now for Baltimore to start 0-2 in a division where you got to deal with Cincy and the 2-0 Pittsburgh Steelers, which we'll get into in a little bit, and the Cleveland Browns, who are now 1-1. So it's like that division right there, they find themselves in the basement right now by themselves, which is wild. Well, no, it's Cincinnati. They're 0-2 as well. So they're both bottom feeders right now, 2 weeks into the season. And again, it's early, so let's not get too crazy, but again, Baltimore is jonesing for a win. They're going to come out firing on all cylinders next week. And I have no doubts that game's going to be like the Cowboys offense has to find a way to score some points early. I don't like the Cowboys team when they have to come from behind. I really don't. And I have never liked that. I mean, yeah, is a comeback win great? Sure is. Great for morale. I understand. But the Cowboys are not built like that. So we'll see. Baker Mayfield. Okay. Baker Mayfield is putting the league back on notice that, hey, listen, once upon a time, I was the number 1 overall pick. And while I think that there's plenty of flaws in Baker's game, I don't foresee Tampa Bay struggling so much offensively because I really think they're loaded. They're loaded with talent on that offense. And to watch Mike Evans do this shit time and time again without even blinking an eye, and Chris Godwin having himself a day yesterday, they have a great running attack. Baker Mayfield's going to make some plays, even with his feet. So it's up to the Tampa defense to really hold them in this. And they held their own yesterday. But, Tampa Bay being 2-0, it's interesting. It really is interesting. And I don't really know how to go about judging him on a 2-0 record, but when you get off to a nice start like that, you also have to find new motivation. Okay. I know they're very heavily motivated in the whole, nobody thinks we're going to do anything this year. You know what I mean? Like, okay, well, now you're 2-0 and now you probably got to find something different to go on, right? You can't do that in that regard. But yeah, Baker did enough, and it was it's fun to watch him when he's not Boohoo Baker. And I say Boohoo Baker because I look at Baker Mayfield as somebody that's, if he gets, put in a situation where he's upset or, and things aren't going his way, he gets very pouty on the sidelines. And that's when I think the Bucs are at their worst. But if they keep him upright and they keep him positive and all that shit, the Bucs could be dangerous right now in a division that's definitely winnable. That's a winnable division with Atlanta going tonight. We'll get more into the game in a minute with the Eagles, but Atlanta's over there obviously, and I think they're going to right the wrongs. Maybe not tonight, I don't know, but I think they're going to be a better team than they have in the past. The Saints, obviously, what we just watched them do with the Cowboys and the Panthers in 2 weeks, that division is going to be tough. So it's going to have to, Baker Mayfield's going to have to continue his ways to stay afloat of this division alone. The NFC all of a sudden is a very loaded thing, and you look around the NFC and you're like, oh well, Jordan Love is out, so the Packers are probably going to lose a couple games, right? You would think, oh, well, the Packers, Malik Willis, the guy, hasn't been able to do shit in his career so far. So what makes me think after 20 days of being with the team, no training camp, no preseason, none of that, what makes me think that Malik Willis is going to do any? Well, guess what? He didn't have to. He handed the ball off to Josh Jacobs 32 times. 32 times. Josh Jacobs had himself a day, right? And that's what you do when you don't know what you got in your quarterback. It's not like they don't know what they got. They know what they have in Malik Willis, and it's limited, right? It's limited. He's mobile, though. He might be able to replicate the offense with the Jordan Love offense, right? He's not Jordan Love, and I think that the Green Bay Packers getting out of there at home with a win over the Colts, and I was very high on Anthony Richardson. He had himself a shit day yesterday. Shit day. And look, the Packers are right there in the thick of things, and they'll probably get their quarterback back. I think they're saying he's targeting week 5. If it's like if emergency break glass, you know what I mean? Like if Malik Willis can go back out there and win the game next week, that prolongs the recovery process because you're going to be in the dance. You would have to assume the Packers are going to be in the dance if they, win a couple games, just a couple games with Malik Willis. I'm not saying they have to go unbeaten, but certain people out there were probably thinking, oh, they're not going to win any games. They're not going to win any games with Malik Willis. There's going to be a struggle. And they go out there and beat a quality Colts team. And I think that the Colts, again, they got a very young team with a very young quarterback who doesn't have a lot of reps. Because last year, if you remember, Anthony Richardson set the world on fire in the first couple of weeks, busted his shoulder, and that was it. So we never saw Anthony Richardson again last year. So now he's got to get his legs under him, and he's a big dude. And I think that Indy's going to be just fine. Again, though, you have to look at these divisions that the teams play in. When you have Indianapolis dealing with the Titans, who didn't look very good yesterday against the Jets, we'll talk about that in a second. And then, you're looking around that division, and is it a foregone conclusion that it's the Texans after Kai Fairbairn's monster game? By the way, start drafting your kickers in like the fifth to sixth last round. Like, don't wait to the end anymore. These kickers are weapons. All right, I got Kai Fairbairn in one league and Brandon Aubrey in another. Okay, so take that for what it's worth. Kickers matter now, and I'm sure Pat McAfee is very happy to hear that. Kickers, punters, everybody, special teams matter. And Kai Fairbairn last night was fucking unreal. The guy's like money aces from 50 but all of a sudden the 50-yard field goal, which everybody used to sweat and get their buttholes tight, all of a sudden is a chip shot, right? And it's like, wow, how long can we kick now? Bigger, stronger, faster, ladies and gentlemen. That's how the athletes are getting nowadays. And if you're a kicker, you really going to be tested for steroids? Probably not, right? So imagine, can you imagine that actually happening in the NFL? Like the random drug test that they do, and most of the time it's after a big game. So like if you were to look at like a CeeDee Lamb, I remember last year CeeDee Lamb had a monster game, and like he had like a notice in his locker, like, okay, well, you got to piss in a cup now. We're going to make sure you're all good, right? Can you imagine a kicker getting a little note saying, "Hey, sorry, dude, we gotta check your urine. We gotta make sure you're not being performance enhanced right now." Because I can see it. Look, these kickers are booming kicks from 50, 60, and Brandon Aubrey almost fucking attempted a 70-yarder last week. So draft your kickers early going forward. But yeah, what were we talking about? Oh, so the Packers are still in the mix, right? After 2 weeks. And I'm not saying anybody is out after 2 weeks. It's not a thing, right? I always say this, and I've always said this. When the Cowboys won their Super Bowls, I think it was the 93 one. They started off 0-2 because Emmett was holding out, and they won the whole damn thing. So it's not like 0-2 is it's over. Like there's a lot of teams that are 0-2 that I feel like are going to make deep playoff runs this year, and that starts with Cincinnati, but we'll get into that. But piggybacking off a couple more headlines from week 2, the JTS, right? The Jets get themselves a dub. Aaron Rodgers' his first win as a Jet quarterback. Look, I was high on the Jets. I'm still high on the Jets. I think that the Jets, they're just getting started, and they now have a 1-2 punch that everybody was clamoring for. Braylon Allen is, dude. He's a dude. And when you have Breece Hall and you can stack those two as a 1-2 punch, boy, you better watch out, because if you start loading that box, guess who's going to pick you apart from the pocket? Like, and that's another thing. People are like, oh, Rodgers isn't moving. Like, no shit. He's 40 years old. He's not going to move about the cabin like he's like a spring chicken. But guess what? He could still fire that football, man. And let me tell you something. A couple throws yesterday, chef's kiss, right? Because Aaron Rodgers is still one of the better throwers of the football in the NFL. Is he going to scramble out and avoid sacks and pressures? No, right? He's not going to be that guy. But if you give that guy time and just sit back, relax, scan the field, looking around. Oh, by the way, there's Lazard. Or, oh, by the way, there's Garrett Wilson. Or, oh, by the way, there's fucking Conklin. They got weapons over there, and he can dish them all off out of the backfield. The Jets are loaded on offense right now, and I believe in that. And I think that they're going to be just fine. I really do. And I think that the Jets, with a win yesterday, was big, because you have New England, who came down to life after their week 1 win. They lose to Seattle, and now you got a battle of 1-1 teams. Buffalo looks to be in the driver's seat right now because of the fact that they have Josh Allen and they have James Cook, and that team's going to be good. What are they going to do at receiver? I don't know who steps up. It's got to be somebody. It's going to be somebody. Josh Allen he's the kind of guy that can make a receiver. Patrick Mahomes is that kind of guy. Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers. Those guys are the types of quarterbacks that can make wide receivers. They can dictate who's going to be good and who's going to be bad just based off the fact of target share, right? Because if you keep giving these guys options, Keon Coleman or Kenyon Cole, whatever the hell his name is. I also believe they have Curtis Samuel, if I'm not mistaken. So they have these guys who are definite threats, specifically down the field. And if James Cook keeps doing what he's doing, Buffalo's going to be a problem, because now you look at a team like Miami. I don't know, man. I'll say this. I've dealt with concussions myself. They're not fun. They took me out of wrestling. I couldn't wrestle anymore after I was like, my bell has gotten rung way too many times. And now you have a situation like Tua, where reports are coming out that as soon as he's cleared, he's going to come back. Look, the old school fan of me is saying, man, what a gamer. What a gamer. The guy, oh, what a gamer. He's so good. He's so good at what he does. He's so dedicated to his craft, and he's never going to stop. But there comes a point in every man or female, doesn't matter. If you get rocked enough in the dome, you're going to get these lingering effects down the road for your whole life, for the rest of your life. Tua has been knocked silly way too many times. And to take that was a lighter hit. Coincidentally, comes from Damar Hamlin, but like that was a lighter on the hit side. It was when his head hits the ground. His brain is already starting to turn into mush. And for this guy to say, like, I'll be back as soon as I'm clear, here come the Dolphins, they got to go make a move. If the Dolphins think they're equipped with an offense that they're a quarterback away, it ain't going to happen with their backups. It's not. Because more than likely Tua will miss 4 games a month, maybe longer. You got to make a move if you're Miami right now. I got the perfect guy on the bench. I got the perfect guy. Send me over one of your 18 running backs to the Cowboys, and we'll give you Trey Lance. We'll give you Cooper Rush. We'll give you whoever you want. Just those two, actually, not Dak. So, but I'm saying, like, we got some backup quarterbacks. There's some high, and the best backup quarterback in the league still to this day, I think, is Tyrod Taylor, but he's got to stay there just in case, right? So if you're looking for a starting caliber quarterback, and I'm not saying Trey Lance was any good in the preseason. In fact, I shit all over his game. I really did. I was like, this is, but he's got the wheels. That's great. Like, I don't really care about the wheels. I care about quarterback ability and being able to lead your team down the field and score. Cooper Rush has done that in the regular season. So look, Miami, if you're feeling froggy, leap. Give us a third. And nothing less than a third and a running back. Do it. But in any event, back to Tua for a second. I don't think we live in a world where Tua is going to make it in this league right now, because if you're already experiencing this and you just got paid all that money, that's the crazy part. And this is why, and I'll double down on this. I'm pro player, right? I'm pro player, pro getting yours, because now you know why these guys try to get every red cent out of every contract you sign, because it's shit like this. Your career could end like that, and all of a sudden you're left with nothing, right? Specifically, if you're, I don't know, backup running back, or backup third string quarterback, right? Like your guaranteed money is just as much as somebody making some money on Wall Street, right? But if you lose that career, it's over. So these guys got to get theirs. And I understand the market's a little ridiculous, right? Like, you're looking at money and, I'm struggling to buy fucking eggs, right? And like, but yet here is all these people making millions and millions and millions of dollars, generational wealth, right? But they also put their bodies on the line. We don't. I don't. And that's why I think everybody, UFC fighters, boxers, professional wrestlers, all these guys should be taken care of as a part of a union, of like a combat union of some variation, because they got to get this guaranteed money, or they're going to get totally left in the dust if they get hurt. And Tua is in that situation right now where he needs all the money he can get, which he did already. He got it. The guarantee is the guarantee. You can absolutely walk away from the game of football and be set for the rest of your life, your kid's life, your kid's life. Like, you'll be okay. For you to just stick around for the sake of loving the game how much is the game going to love you back? I just think it's a bad situation to be in if you're a Miami Dolphins fan, but even worse if you're Tua. I do feel bad for the guy, and I think that he needs to really, really reevaluate what's going on with his career, and the Dolphins need a quarterback in order for them to stay afloat with a good team like the Jets, with a good team like the Bills, and the Patriots. We'll see about them. Again, I think their week 1 was a must feel good win, must win to get Jared Mayo off the schneid there. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't buy into it that they can run with whoever their backups are. I believe, is it still Skylar Thompson at this point? I know somebody went in on Thursday night, and I don't remember who it was. See, concussions. Okay, got to be careful. All right, so look, there are some 2-0 teams and 0-2 teams that are, some 2-0 teams are frauds, I think, and some 0-2 teams are don't panic. The Ravens and the Bengals are two of those teams that shouldn't be panicking, right? At all. Within your division, maybe a little bit, but like, you can bounce back. It's only week 2. We're not at the end of September yet. You know, if at Halloween you're in the bottom of your division, you're looking up and you're like, damn, we're down 3 games, right? That's a lot to make up because you got to beat them head to head, right? Whenever that comes, and maybe it already came. So you won't have a chance to get back into it like that. But when I look at this team, like the Ravens and the Bengals, I think the AFC North is going to be a lot of fun down the stretch because they have a fraudulent 2-0 team. The Pittsburgh Steelers, look, I understand. I like TJ Watt. I like their defense. This dual quarterback thing, Russ Wilson's sitting on the sidelines for the first 2 weeks. Justin Fields is showing that, yeah, there's a couple plays to be made out there, but he leaves so much out there. And the Steelers have found themselves in the lucky crosshairs of a easier schedule to start the season. And I don't want to say easy because nothing's easy in the NFL. It's hard to win games, but like, I don't buy into the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. And there's no offense to any of my Steeler fan friends, right? Or anybody watching that's a Steelers fan. You're like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Look, even you as a fan are probably like, 2-0. Fuck, like, you didn't expect this. I know I didn't expect this. And this is not my bitter hatred for the Steelers that dates back to when my father was growing up, right? It's not that at all. But I just don't see it right now. We'll see. But again, I don't buy into the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, but it's crazy that all these fraud and don't panic teams are all in the AFC North. I think that division is going to be a lot of fun to watch all season long. They'll be beating the shit out of each other, and we're going to love every second of it. We're going to love every second of it. It's going to be great. Because that is an older school rivalry. When you look at the AFC North, it's the Ravens and the Steelers. It's the Bengals and the Steelers. It's the Ravens and the Bengals. It's like those rivalries are forever. And I think that with the youth movement in there, Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, I guess you could say is in that mix now, even though I don't think he's in that mix now, but like even that, and Deshaun Watson, who again looked like complete garbage week 1, but then turned it on a little bit in week 2. Not a terrible game, but the division's going to be fun. Watching the 49ers yesterday, who are not an 0-2 team, they're 0-1, 1-1 team. They're going to be okay, but I suggest, they do something about CMC right now, who's now popped up on the IR for the next 4 weeks at minimum. I don't like making bold predictions on injuries. I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV, right? It's not a thing. But there's an outside chance we don't see CMC for the rest of the year. Look, Achilles, calf, all that shit, that's a lot for a running back to just be like, yep, I'm good. Let's go. Once that shit is soft tissue and it's stuff that you can only really work on with rehab and resistance and then all that shit, making a cut in the NFL is probably the most, dynamic thing you can do to your Achilles or your calf or your quad or your hamstring, whatever. You're a running back in the NFL with an injury like that, boy. It's not fun. It's not fun. So you're going to have to watch yourself and just buyer beware of CMC. I'm sorry for all you number 1 overall pickers out there who took CMC. You're screwed because I don't think he gets back. But anyway, so other 2-0 teams that I'm just not really buying into right now. Like I said, it started in the AFC North to talk about that division because, it's just, I don't know. It's not one of those things that 2-0 is not going to make or break anybody. It's just not. And looking up the standings right now because I don't know off the top of my head, but the Bills are 2-0. They're going to be a good team. They're not frauds. The Steelers, like I said, get out of my face with that. The Texans. Now, look, that's an interesting one. The Texans played well last night. I really like the Texans offense, but I like their defense more. As weird as that sounds, you look at a defense like the offense like the Texans, and you're like, what's not to love? It's CJ, it's Tank Dell, it's Nico Collins, it's Joe Mixon got rolled up. No hip drop tackle penalty yesterday. Weird. Because that could have ended that kid's season. And it's just like, oh, we're just gonna forget that one. It's literally hip drop. It's it. Like there's no, it's not hard to call. And if you want to eliminate that shit from the game, start calling it. Anyway, but the Texans offense is good, and they're going to be good all year round, especially with that missile of a leg that Kai Fairbairn has. But their defense and D'Amico Ryans and that defensive-led mindset coach is going to be the reason why the Texans are going to be one of those teams that you're talking about towards the backstretch of teams that could potentially dethrone Kansas City, right? And you look at Kansas City, and of course they're 2-0. The Chargers are 2-0. So now I'm looking at the Chargers, and I'm like, okay, this is fun for Jim Harbaugh, right? I like Jim Harbaugh. I'm a huge Jim Harbaugh guy. But again, your depth, and J.K. Dobbins, another great performance. I played against him in fantasy yesterday. My brother has him. Not a fun time to watch J.K. Dobbins do his thing. But I don't know. I don't know about the Chargers right now. Again, Justin Herbert caught a lot of shit from me, caught a lot of shit from a lot of people. Like, why is he even in this conversation of being better than Dak and this, that, and there? He's going to have to find other ways, because I don't know if it's going to be as cookie cutter the rest of the way for him, and specifically dealing with the AFC West, which, has the Kansas City Chiefs, that has the 1-1 Raiders. The Broncos look pretty shitty. The Broncos should absolutely panic. They've scored 26 points in 2 games. It's an average of 13 a game. That's not going to get it done in today's NFL. It's just not. So I would panic if I'm a Broncos fan. The Titans and the Jaguars, again, the Jaguars only scored 30 points. I don't know what the fuck. I mean, look, Evan Ingram got hurt in pregame warmups. If that's not like a sign of just a catastrophically bad season incoming, I don't know. The Colts are 0-2, but I don't worry about the Colts. I think they're going to be fine. I think they have a young team, young coach. Their point differential is -8 right now. So again, they're playing better teams, right? I mean, I know they just lost one to the Packers and Malik Willis, so that was tough. But if you look at the NFC, the Philadelphia Eagles, we'll talk about them in a minute. The Giants. I mean, look, I'm not going to beat the Giants up. I mean, they've been getting beat up enough. I got season ticket holders that pretty much gave me the Cowboys game, considering how much you can get on a third market for a Cowboys game. I paid fucking next to nothing if you compare apples to apples. The Giants fans are down bad right now. They are. And I think that it's a shame, because it's like you had a chance to, right a lot of wrongs in the off season, but Daniel Jones ain't the guy. You guys all know he's not the guy. I wouldn't boo him and heckle him outside the stadium, but I would boo his ass on the field, because he's just not playing good football. And now the Giants are going to probably put themselves in a situation to draft a quarterback high next year. The kid from Texas kind of rings a bell. If they really want to wait, they got to wait for Arch Manning, because the kid from Texas is actually going to miss some time. So now you get the Arch Manning show, which is always fun. But yeah, so the Giants are down bad. They just, fan base is not happy. They're frustrated. They've been frustrated for years. They haven't seen relevancy since 2011 when they won the Super Bowl. And that's 13 years ago. So let's not get it twisted. When everybody's talking about the Cowboys, right? And like, oh, you haven't won since 95. Well, 13 years is a long time too, right? And before that, it was 07, but before that was fucking 80 or 91 or whatever. So it's like, everybody calm down. The Vikings are 2-0. That's not going to last. Like, Sam Darnold played his ass off. They beat a really good 49er defense. Justin Jefferson came up a little limp with I believe a bone contusion, so he'll be fine. But a 97-yard touchdown catch and run, like, holy shit. They're 2-0. I don't really buy into them too much. Hard pressed to say the Saints aren't a good team, right? And I it's so weird, because like when you went into the season, there was rumors already that Dennis Allen, the Saints head coach, had the highest odds of being fired first in the NFL. Like, sometimes coaches get fired midseason, or it just gets so bad that they're like, all right, bring in somebody as an interim thing. We'll figure it out. He was up there, if not first. I'm pretty sure he was the highest odds to get fired first. And now you have a 2-0 team and 2 throttling victories. The Panthers are piss poor. They're done, out. Goodbye. Right. But the Cowboys aren't a bad team, right? Despite the way it looked yesterday, they beat a quality team and a quality opponent on the road. So you have to take them serious. You have to. Like, there's no way around it for you to be like, well, like there's none of that. So the Saints are 2-0. I buy into the Saints right now. The Bucks, again, they got to find new motivation because the whole nobody picked us, that shit only works for a couple of weeks. And then you have Seattle, who are also 2-0 in a division where that division between the Niners, Cardinals look really, really good, and they finally got Marvin Harrison Jr. involved. Seattle's going to be in a dogfight all season long. The NFC West will be fun to watch because I personally think it's going to be a 3-team race at the but I only say 3-team. I would say 4-team, but the Rams keep losing people. They lost Puka for IR stint. He might not be back till like week 9. We don't know about Cooper Kupp yet. I mean, at least I don't yet because my phone's my camera. So that's how I don't know. But yeah, the Rams, if they could just stay healthier, look, every team deals with injuries, but they're just getting beat to shit with injuries, and they're too smart of a team and too good of a coach team to struggle. So I think NFC West is going to be up for grabs as well. So what do we got? We got one more hill to climb tonight, and that is none other than the Falcons and the Eagles. Now, look, I was high on the Falcons coming into the season because I felt they were a good quarterback away, and Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. But Kirk Cousins is also coming off the Achilles. He's no spring chicken. It's going to take him a little bit of game time, real-time reps for him to get going. Would I love for him to get going tonight? Absolutely. Let's get it going. I need Bijan Robinson to have a career game tonight in another fantasy league. I'm only in 2 fantasy leagues, by the way. So it's not like the days of old. I used to be like 5, 6 leagues deep. I think my business partner, Chris Gucci's in like 10. I don't have time or the patience to set all those lineups. So, and he said it like, oh, they're best ball. So like it automatically just takes your best guys and put them in. So how's that fun? That's not fun to me. Best ball is not fun to me. Like why? Like, oh, I'm going to pick all these players and the computer is going to set my lineup and show me who's the best so we don't have to make any mistakes. That's part of fantasy football is coaching your fantasy team, right? I know it sounds corny, but like it's part of it, right? I mean, it's which decision to make. Should I put in this guy? Should I put in this guy? Should I bench him, cut him, trade him, sign him? There's a bunch of shit. And best ball is just like, look, draft a team. We'll take care of the rest. Right? So I don't know. It's just, to me, that's just lame. But I'm sure he'll come back and see this and say, look, no, it's not lame. This is what happens. It's cool, actually. No, it's not. Anywho, tonight, Falcons, Eagles. Eagles are without AJ Brown. That came kind of out of nowhere. We knew he was hobbled, but to rule him out, so Batman's out, Robin's in. So big game out of Devonta Smith, possibly. Saquon Barkley, does he bounce from scoring all those touchdowns in week 1 to week 2? Does it all translate? I don't know. But again, the Eagles are in a position now to take first place by themselves. But if the Eagles lose tonight, takes the sting out of a bad loss. That's for sure. It does. I don't care who you are. You're like, well, the Cowboys got throttled and the Eagles lost by a field goal or something. I don't give a shit. A win is a win and a loss is a loss. There's no other way to break that down. Okay. There's really not a way to break that down. That is exactly what happens. You lose that game. I don't care if you lose by 1 or 21, you lost. Right. So yes, all eyes on the Atlanta Falcons to go and upset the Eagles tonight. Will they? No, they won't. I don't think they're, again, rooting for it. Sure as shit rooting for it, but I don't see it happening. Eagles are a good team, man. They got a good defense. They also, we'll see about Jalen Hurts, a couple ill-advised throws in week 1. So does that continue? Falcons are definitely a better team than they were last year. I think Kirk Cousins I think the only recipe for the Falcons to win tonight is if he gets up on the Eagles and makes the Eagles come from behind. And I'm not saying up by 4 or 5. I'm talking like if they can get up 10 or 13 at some point for whatever reason, I don't know, again, bounce of the ball one way or another. I like the Falcons to try to win this game, but you got to get up on them. You have to. So that's Monday Night Football. I'll pick the Eagles just because Why not? Right. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for watching. Had a decent number of people watching this live, so hopefully this live thing can continue to move forward. Mondays are always tough for everybody, right? Going back to work. If your team loses, the week is kind of shit up until about like Wednesday, Thursday when you start prepping for a new week, and you're like, okay, it's time to pick the games. So Monday, Tuesday is always rough for anybody who loses their team. If you care that much, right? I know I do. It's the way I'm wired. So thank you guys for watching this week's episode of My Fandom Cast. Now, look, you're probably like, what the hell is My Fandom Cast? Is the first time you're tuning in. If you go to a lot of live games, I'm talking sporting events, I'm talking NASCAR, NFL, MLB, professional wrestling, UFC, boxing, whatever, NHL. Did I say that already? If you go to a lot of games, there's a brand new app that I co-own along with Josh Chernoff, Fred Chernoff, Freddie Prinze Jr. Yeah, that guy. He still knows what you did last summer, by the way. Go check this app out. It's a way to really, really take advantage and log all of the games you've ever been to, post all the memories that you have, right? I mean, look, the world of social media right now is flooded with bullshit. It's September, October, November. You got election season coming. Nobody wants to read it. I muted so many words on Twitter at this point. I don't even know why I'm seeing certain things anymore because I'm like, I thought I fucking muted this person or this word, right? You could do that. You'd be like, okay, election, mute that shit. I don't want to see anymore, right? But this is the app for you. MyFandomApp.com. Get on over there. Start looking around. All the news is there. All of our original content is there on our YouTube channel. You got this show, the Jersey Boys podcast on Tuesdays, the Wrestling Hour on Wednesdays. You got the Fight Factory podcast on Thursdays. So we're loading up on content. If you're a content creator and you like to talk sports and you have your own show and you're looking for that extra reach, slide on into my DMs. We have 25,000 subscribers on our My Fandom YouTube channel, and this is a chance for you to grow your brand immediately, right? I mean, you're going to get some eyes on your brand. If you're having trouble, I can produce shows, right? There's a lot of shit that we could do at My Fandom. The brand itself is growing by the day, but check out the My Fandom app. It is the cornerstone of this entire operation. I can't tell you how awesome it is. It really is fucking cool, man. It really, like, it's clean. It looks cool. It doesn't crash like every other app in the world. Like, it's a very, very cool way to log all your games and of the ones you go to, because again, I have so many games. I'll go into a game in 2 weeks, Cowboys Giants, right? I can't wait. I go to the Rutgers games now. I'm a big Rutgers guy all of a sudden. Any Yankee game I go to down the stretch and maybe into the postseason. There's a lot of games to log, and that's all there, and it'll never go away. You don't have to worry about deactivating any accounts on Facebook, Instagram, anything like that. My Fandom app, go check it out. We really appreciate you. It helps me out if you like me, right? If you like me and you're like, how can I help Dave out? You can download the app today. That's all. It's free, right? There's no catch, nothing. It's absolutely free. Go check out the My Fandom app and check out all the original content. And again, if you're a content creator, reach out to me as to how you can get your show on our YouTube channel and, make some money and, get some advertisements and shit. So it'll be fun. So that'll do it for Dave Sturchio and everybody at My Fandom. This has been episode number, I don't know. It's week 2 in the NFL. I think I did episode number 3. How about that? Dave Sturchio signing off. Have yourself a good Monday. Go Falcons. Get it done. Thanks, everybody.